Hi, everyone. I'm sending this video to students I work with in private sessions and small groups, explaining a little bit about the orientation I've been bringing in my inquiries, and actually explaining a bit of the experiment I'm doing this year. And I'm calling it 3 Foundations of Inquiry. Now, there are many foundations for inquiry, but I've been looking at ways to make inquiry more effective, more accessible, utilizing principles of the diamond approach that you already know very well, and just ordering them in a particular way and seeing how it works. So the 3 principles I'm talking about in stimulating the 3 centers are kindness, sensing in the belly, and not knowing in the head. But I'm putting them in a hierarchy. So I'm encouraging you, when you begin an inquiry, to see what it's like to begin with kindness. Now, kindness means different things to different people. But I know you all, and I know you all have strong capacity for kindness. I've seen it exhibited in your lives or heard about it exhibited in your lives. So that's something you have the capacity for. Maybe it's even ego-syntonic. Kindness towards oneself, especially a deepening kindness towards oneself, is usually ego-dystonic. The foundation for the ego is rejection. Rejection, hope, desire. So by bringing in a sense of kindness, somewhere along the line, it's going to challenge the ego. What I'm seeing that, however, though, what it does, at least initially, is provide a holding. It provides a holding to enable you to inquire into whatever you're inquiring into more deeply, generally with more courage, more sense of adventure, more sense of not knowing, more discrimination. Without the sense of kindness, it's easy for there to be more of an agenda, more of an orientation towards getting somewhere, more of an identification with what you're inquiring into. And so you've probably heard me say it before, but I'm using Hamid as the model, where I think one of his secret powers is his connection with the loving light, this deep holding that he's mostly always had. And that holding, that sense that there's a home, a ground, enables one to go deeper and be more adventurous in inquiries. So I think it's important to have that first, even before the sensing. Now, you may already, when you're starting an inquiry, be sensing, right? And then add the kindness after that. But just as a kind of posture. Some of you may have noticed in my small groups and large groups, when I lead meditation over the last year or so, I've been focusing more on posture as a beginning, emphasizing the importance of creating some kind of foundation for the meditation. And then you can let it go or refer to it depending on how your meditation's going. I'm looking at inquiry the same way these days, seeing what it's like to create a foundation for the inquiry, create a holding for the inquiry, which can relax the soul in some way, regulate the soul first, before engaging in whatever inquiry is happening. So if we start with the kindness and return to it as much as you need to, and even if you're feeling kindness, bring in more kindness, because it's basically unlimited. And I'm not using the word compassion or love or loving light, because those are essential states. And they're not really attitudes. When I'm talking about kindness, I'm really talking about an attitude. So attitudes are more accessible. Now, it's true that attitude of kindness will be an entry into love, into compassion, into a loving light. But it's a way that's more accessible. And it's not a goal to get there, it's an attitude towards creating a holding towards the inquiry. And with that kind of holding, it makes it easier to go to the next center, the belly center, which is the sensing center. Now, you've known since you've been in the school, one of the primary practices is sensing. And you probably know how difficult that can be. The instructions are sense your arms and legs 24/7, basically. Well, we know that the ego is a disassociated structure. We checked out of the body. We checked out for a reason. It was too painful. There wasn't a holding for it. One potential of bringing in the kindness is it gives a different orientation to sensing. So rather than I need to sense my body, which can be a helpful orientation in the beginning, with a sense of kindness, sensing can be more an invitation. It can be more relaxed. What am I feeling in my belly? Oh, I'm feeling nothing. Rather than that being a problem, can be open around it, be kind to it. Okay, I don't feel anything. What's it like to hang out there? Sensing becomes more of the beginning of the inquiry. It has a more open quality. And it will be easier then to tap into the benefits of the sensing, which are bringing us to the here, bringing us to the now in a substantial way, in a discriminated way, which the ego will resist naturally. The ego doesn't want to be here or now. But with the kind of holding of kindness, you can try out and see what it's like to sense from that place. And then from the sensing practice, it becomes easier to go to the head center and invite the not knowing. So the not knowing is opening to all kinds of things, right? The space, openness, diamond dome, all kinds of things. Again, this is more of an attitude right now, just inviting a not knowing with the support of being here now, with the support of the kindness. All three invitations will be resisted by the ego more or less. But I'm seeing if by starting an inquiry like this, and again, using these foundations or principles as touchstones during an inquiry, if it will help support you particularly. And some people I see are getting help. They feel supported, their inquiries go deeper, but I'm more of an experiment. So I'd be curious to see what your experience is, and I'm sure I'll hear about it. Or maybe it feels too contrived, right? Because it is a doing. The primary practice of the diamond approach is non-doing. However, in the meantime, as preparation, as foundation, we do engage with doing. Right? That's the Koth meditation. It's a doing practice. Useful to develop things. And so these can be cultivated. There can be more kindness. There can be more sensing. There can be more not knowing. This is an ongoing cultivation. I'm finding this quite useful most of the time. It's true there are times that it's this kind of practice, this orientation is not relevant or not so relevant. If you're experiencing yourself in a boundless dimension or non-dual presence, you're not really thinking of somebody that needs kindness. Doesn't mean that the P is not located somewhere, that sense of self is not located somewhere in your soul, but that's not where your attention is. So it's not necessary or needed to consciously come back and bring a sense of kindness to a separate sense of self that you're not even experiencing. And that's even more true in the third and fourth turnings, where there's even less a sense of self and the sense of somebody doing something less and less relevant. But let's assume that this is applicable if you're experiencing yourself as a separate sense of self, we call first turning. So I'll leave it there. I'm going to keep it short. I'll be bringing it in my private sessions, and some of you have been hearing it. I'll be bringing it in small group. And I would be curious to hear your feedback. Like if you experiment with this, engage with this, what happens for you? And again, this is just a kind of posture setting, a place setting. You don't have to keep thinking about it, although sometimes it might be useful. And you can bring it into your life. When you're going for a walk, when you're at work, you could check in. And again, the main practice, one of the main practices the Diamond Approach has been sensing, looking, and listening. I'm suggesting here putting the kindness first, or if you're sensing and noticing the kindness is not there, see what it's like to bring in. And see what it's like to consciously bring in the not knowing. And see how that unfolds. Okay, I'll leave it here for now and see you on Zoom. Okay, take care.